Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I will be reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 15, text number 6, page number 636. Nata Dashate Suyo Nasanko Nabhavaka Nadgadva Nidvartante Tadam Paramam Mama. Not that Vishate illuminates. Surya, the sun. Na, nor. Shankar, the moon. Na, nor. Vakaha, fire, electricity. Yad, where. Adva, going. Na, never. Vivartante, they come back. Tadam, that abode. Paramam, supreme. Mama, my. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That supreme abode of Maya is not illuminated by the sun, or moon, nor by fire, or electricity. Those that reach it never return to this material world. Purport. The spiritual world, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, is known as Krishna Loka, Golok Vrindavan, is described here. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, electricity, fire or electricity, because all the planets are self-luminous. We have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous. But all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets called Vaikunthas constitute the shining sky known as the Brahma Yoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna, Golok Vrindavan. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahatapa, material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shining sky is full of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is Golok Vrindavan. As long as the living entity is in the dark material world, he's in conditioned life, but as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false, perverted tree of material world, he becomes liberated. There's no chance of his coming back here. In this conditioned life, the living entity considers himself to be the Lord of this material world, but in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom, becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, full of knowledge. One should be captivated by this information, desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one is too much attached to this material world, it's very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes the Krishna consciousness, there's a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth. He must be attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously. The devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. In chapter 14, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as pure transcendental. The word paramam are very important here. Actually, every nook and corner is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the spiritual world is paramam. Full of six opulences. Katha Upanishad 2:1-2-15 also confirms that the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Natatra suryo bhakti na chadra tarakaham. For the whole spiritual sky is illuminated by the eternal potency of the Supreme Lord. That Supreme Lord can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. Translation again, that Supreme Abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Om Aryanatram Dashasha Janajana Slakaya Sakshirumitam Jana Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Gadamayam Tanti Swapadantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And this is the 15th chapter, Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottam Yoga. And this is also the month, Purushottam Mas, which comes once every 3 years. So this month is more potent than Kartik. Similar to Kartik, but it has more potency, and therefore any spiritual practice is done in this month, you get 1,000 times more benefit than you get in any other month. So those living in Vrindavan and in this month should try to increase their chanting, increase their hearing and chanting, and decrease their desire for sense gratification and any mundane activities, especially in this month. So this 15th chapter is the says the most confidential. Last verse says this is the most confidential knowledge. O sinless one who knows this will become perfect, will become wise and achieve all perfection. So this is confidential knowledge. Also other chapters say that, because only if you're free from sin can you actually understand this chapter. So we have the verses 1 to 5 describe the process of freeing oneself from the material world. And then text 6 to 20 describe the Purushottam Yoga, or how to get out of the material world, and other things are described. So in the Brahma Samhita, it says, Goloka namni nija damni tele chatasya devi mehesha haridameshu teshu te pravala mitya itaschayena Govindamari Tamaha Bhajami. The lowest of all is located Devi Dham. Next above is Mahesh Dham. Above Mahesh Dham is the place Haridham. And above them all is Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allowed their respective authority to the rulers of these graded realms. So this is the material world. It's called Devi Dham because it says here the external potency Maya, who is in the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, destroying agency in this material world. So there's two forms of Durga. One form of Durga is the material form, which is keeping everyone entangled in the material world. And then there's the Chit potency of Durga, which is the spiritual Durga, and she can help the living entity when she sees someone serious about devotional service and getting out of the material world. Then she can help the living entity to get release from the clutches of the material world. Otherwise, it's not possible to get out of the material world. And so this is the material world. And in Bhagavad-Gita, it says that the Brahma Bhuvana Loka, highest planet down to the lowest, all places where misery, repeated birth and death take place. So the material world is not a nice place, but somehow or other we misused our independence and we decided to come to the material world and try it out. But those who have a little bit of intelligence and are not too much covered over by the material energy can begin to try to understand the nature of the material world. The nature of the material world is that we have to take birth, we get disease, we get old, and we die. That applies to everyone. And according to our activities in this life, then it's decided when we die what our activities will be in next life. So we can be an insect, we can be a demigod, we can be Lord Indra, we can be so many things in this material world and go up and down in these different realms, but we can never get out of the material world because we're bound up. Durga means fort. When we're in a fort or in a jail, that you can't get out unless they release you. So the Devi Dham, the material world, is 1/4 of the spiritual, the whole creation. And 3/4 is the Vaikuntha planets. And in the Devi Dham is a dark place. As soon as the sun goes down at night, then there's no light. And so we need some way of lighting up things. So the material world is a dark place, and it's dark, and also the world of suffering and misery. One time, one priest went to some coal miners and said, if you don't surrender to Jesus Christ, you're all going to go to hell. So they said, who's Jesus Christ? What's his number? Does he work here? Well, they never heard of Jesus Christ. The priest said, and then they said, we'll go to hell. What does hell look like? He said, well, hell is very dark and damp and cold, and they're already working in that condition. So they said, well, it doesn't sound so bad. But then he said there's no newspaper. And nowadays there's no internet in the hell. Says, oh, we don't want to go there. There's no Facebook, no whatever, YouTube or whatever. So they decided to say, well, we don't want to go there. So anyway, people don't understand having information of the spiritual world, so therefore they want to remain confined in the material world. But the Upanishad says those who think of the Mayavadi philosophy or impersonal philosophy or are atheistic, they go to the darkest region, but the whole material world is the dark place, darkest region. And so this is the nature of the material world. According to modern scientists, they give some guesses about the material world. But you know that there's on every universe, the material world was created by Lord Brahma. And from his breathing, all the living entities come out. And all the planets are created. And in each universe, there's one sun, one moon, and many other millions of stars in the sky that you see at night. You don't see the stars in the daytime, but doesn't mean they're not there. They're still there. And Srimad Bhagavatam and Prabhupada comments over and over again that there's life. Life is not only on this planet. They want to say, they teach in school that there's only life on this planet and there's no life on any other planet. But that's foolishness. Prabhupada says that's foolishness or childish conclusion. But every single planet, Krishna says, I spoke the Bhagavad-Gita 120 million years ago to the sun god. So there's people that live on the sun, people live on the moon, people live on every single planet, but they may not have a body. They have a body according to the atmosphere. The fish can live in the water because fish have a body for that, but the human being cannot live in the water. So the different planets have different atmospheres. According to the atmosphere, the different living entities live there. So 8,400,000 species of life, and out of that 8,400,000 species, there's only 400,000 human form, and the human form includes the demigods. So the only form of life that we can, to get us out of this material world, is in the human form. All the other species of life, they're just simply rotating in a cycle of birth and death, taking birth accordingly. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago, and he said that Ayinanda Tanujankinkaram Patitam Mam Vishameva Bhavambudo Hipayata Vapa Pankaja Titi Sita Duli Zindarim Vichinchya. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I'm your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I've fallen into this horrible ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. So somehow or other we have come in this material world, and we have to stay here and suffer. In Vrindavan, now it's very cold, very hot, so there's suffering, a lot of suffering. If you don't have AC room, or if you don't have fan, people are suffering very much. In the wintertime it gets cold, very cold. So the suffering is there. But other places it may not be so much suffering. But still the whole material world is a place of suffering, wherein repeated birth and death take place. So there's only one planet that is luminous, and that's the sun. The sun is the representative of the Lord. The sun is there, and the sun is remains till the end of the lifetime of Brahma, when the whole material world is wound up into the body of Mahavishnu, and then it comes out again. So 1/4 of the universe, of the whole creation, is the material world, and only a small amount of living entities are in the material world. But it's not this is the only universe. There are many universes and many millions of planets in this material world that we're not aware of. So in the material world, in the spiritual world, everyone is Satchidananda, full of knowledge, full of bliss, and eternal. But in the material world, we're not eternal, we're not full of knowledge, and we're not full of bliss. Just the opposite. So no one can really be happy in the material world. No matter how much they try, how many things they create, the modern industrial civilization. This is Kali Yuga, age of core and hypocrisy, the Iron Age. They've invented so many things to make people happy and thinking that they can live in this material world in a permanent arrangement. One man was dying and he's asking the doctor, give me 4 more years, I want to finish my business. But no one can save you. The doctor cannot save the patient, the boat cannot save the drowning man, parents cannot save a child. Rake Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rake. If Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you. Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. This one, Pradyumna was the first son of Rukmini, and there was a prophecy that he would be killed by the Sambar demon. So the demon disguised himself as a beautiful woman, like Putana, and he kidnapped the child when it was 10 days old. And he threw the child in the ocean, thinking that the child would be dead. But the child was swallowed up by a fish, and then the fish was caught by fishermen and sold to the kitchen of the Sambar demon. And when they cut open the body of the fish, they found the baby still alive. So Krishna didn't want him to die, wanted him to live. That was Pradyumna. And this is nature of the demons. They like to eat abominable food, meat, fish, and eggs, all these things that are forbidden for civilized human beings. So Krishna, it's up to Krishna wants you to live, no one can kill you. Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you. So in this way, this is the nature of this material world. So beginning of this chapter, in chapter text number 3 says, it talks about the material world as a banyan tree, which has its roots upward, branches down, leaves are the vague hymns. It says that the one must cut down this tree with determination, with the weapon of detachment, and seek that place, having once gone, one never returns, and there surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who everything began, everything extended to time immemorial. Then Prabhupada was saying it again, once you go there, you never come back. So that's the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. These two realms are there, and it's not mythology. Modern scientists, they don't want to accept these descriptions given in the Vedas. They want to accept their own fallible, their own concocted ideas. So they speculate about things, and they say that the modern civilization began 3,000 years ago. But we know the Bhagavad-Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. So does that mean there was 2,000 years there was no civilization? But that doesn't make sense. The civilization was always there. And since the lifetime of Brahma, it's 4 yugas, the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And there's always some civilization, there's always life, there's always living entities in this world. And Lord Brahma, he's the most intelligent living entity. So the most intelligent living entity created the lesser intelligent. It's not Darwin's theory that man evolved from the monkey. It came from a less intelligent species. The less intelligent don't come from the most intelligent don't come from the less intelligent. This is a misunderstanding. And Darwin didn't know anything about the soul. So his theory, we cannot accept his theory as having any value. But still, they teach it in the schools because they've not read the Vedas, they've not read Prabhupada's books, they don't accept this information. So Prabhupada says in his purport that the description of the spiritual world wants you to be captivated by this information. And not be enamored by sense gratification. Being enamored by sense gratification is like jumping from one tree to another tree. No one can be satisfied by sense gratification. So we should want to get out of the material world, but detachment is not so easy. Especially there's 4 ashrams: brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. From the brahmachari ashram, one is automatically detached, doesn't have too much attachments. A few brahmacharis only have a few things: a cell phone and some cloth, some books. But when one just leaves the brahmachari ashram, takes the grihastha ashram, then he starts to get more and more entangled in the material world. Once you have a wife, then you have children, then you have house, then you have a car, then you get money, and so many things, keeping you attached instead of detached. But one should try to, at least after 50 years old, one should try to detach himself from the material world, from all these things, take vanaprastha, eventually take sannyas. And that way, one's human life will be successful. Prabhupada says here, it's not by dress. Someone may dress in saffron cloth. You see that in Vrindavan. Many people wear saffron cloth, but they're not detached. What they do, they simply wait in line somewhere to get some free food, sit around all day smoking beedies, and what else? I don't know what they do. They don't have any real engagement. They don't know anything about devotional service, but people think that they're sannyasi renounced just by putting on saffron. We know the one king was performing a sacrifice, and King Sagar, ninth canto, was performing a sacrifice, horse sacrifice, and he had done 99. He was worried. Indra became worried that this man was becoming too powerful, so he stole the horse meant for the sacrifice. They have Aswamedha Jagana. They sacrifice a horse in the sacrifice, but it's not killing. They sacrifice a horse. If they pronounce the mantras correctly, the horse is rejuvenated, gets a new body. So Indra stole the horse, and then the king ordered his son to bring back the horse. So the son went to kill the person who stole the horse and bring back the horse. So he saw Indra fleeing with the horse, but Indra dressed himself like a sannyasi. So the son thought, well, this is a saintly person, I can't kill him. So he let him go. So somehow they brought the horse back, and it happened 2 times that Indra disguised himself as a sannyasi. So he became the first false sannyasi. He disguised himself, put on saffron. So people do that in India. They put on saffron and they make a show of being a sannyasi, being detached. One man was a very famous man in Delhi, had many disciples, but he committed a crime and they put him in jail for life. Even though he was wearing saffron cloth, he was not fooled. He couldn't fool the legal system. So, person who takes sannyas in Krishna consciousness he carries the danda, which means he is surrendering his body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. In sannyas ashram, one should be very strict. Prabhupada says, O.B.L. Kapoor, he came with his wife to meet Bhaktisiddhanta. And his wife said that I want to talk with you to Bhaktisiddhanta in private. The Bhaktisiddhanta said no, even though he was old enough to, he was old enough to be her grandfather. Bhaktisiddhanta said no, I cannot speak to a woman in private. If you have anything to say, you can say it in open. And Prabhupada, the same way, would never stay in the room alone, even with his sister. If his sister came in the room, he would tell his servant to stay in the room at the same time. So sannyas order was very strict, especially when it's with associating with women. One should not associate with women, especially in the renounced order, only for important business or preaching. Otherwise, one should be very strict in the sannyas order, or he may become victimized and have to give up that ashram. So, devotees in the Krishna conscious movement, we follow 4 regulated principles: no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And this is the beginning of spiritual life, to free ourselves from the modes of material nature. If you Bhagavad-Gita says that yesam tu atam gatam papam jana punyam kamanam te dvando moho nirmukta vadite mam drita vrataha. Persons acted piously in previous lives and this life, and sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the delusion, dualities of delusion, and engage themselves in my service with determination. So that's what this chapter is dealing with, becoming free from from sinful activity. So when one takes the Krishna consciousness, we first business is to take initiation. First there's we associate with devotees, sadhu sangha. Then we develop a little faith that Krishna consciousness is a better way of life, a better process than any other so-called religious system. Then bhajana kriya, then we take initiation. So when we take initiation, then we make a vow to chant 16 rounds of the Maha Mantra every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in this way, follow the four regular principles: no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Even in household life, there's household life is also an ashram. It's a grihastha ashram, and sex life is not. When one goes married and enters the grihastha ashram, doesn't mean he can have as much sex life as he wants. Sex life is only there with the permission of the spiritual master, one time a month, with the right time to produce Krishna conscious children. Otherwise, there should not be. Also, they should not have sex, because that's against the principles. So that applies to men and women, everyone who's serious in Krishna consciousness. So a householder, if he makes Krishna the center of his life, fully engages himself in devotional service, then he can follow this restriction. In the 70s, when Prabhupada got the devotees married, Prabhupada could see that men and women had to live together, there had to be women in the society. So he decided to marry people. So he married people, but at the same time he engaged them in devotional service. So the married couples, they had so much service, preaching and everything, they didn't have time to have children or have illicit sex. So they followed strictly Prabhupada's instructions. So also are supposed to follow strictly, but they may not be able to because the modes of material nature and difficulty in keeping this vow. But anyway, if one wants to understand the science of Krishna consciousness, then he has to be free from sin and free from any attachments in the material world. So in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna also says that he says, besides these, Almighty Arjuna, there's another superior energy in mind, which comprises of living entities are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. It says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all together these comprise by separated material energy. So there's the material energy, and then there's this spiritual energy. So he says, all created beings have their source in these two natures. While the material, all the spiritual in this world, must know for certain that I'm both the origin and dissolution. So the living entity, there's three energies. There's the material energy, which is the external energy. Then there's the marginal energy and the superior energy. And so the external energy is the material world. The marginal energy is the living entity. We're marginal because we can be either the material world or the spiritual world. But the superior energy, the Param Dharma, the spiritual world, the spiritual energy is what is being discussed here is all the Vaikuntha planets. So there's the Brahmayoti. When Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he killed many demons and they got liberated. They went to the Brahman effulgence, the Brahmayoti, which is the bodily effulgence of Krishna. So the whole world is lit up by the bodily effulgence of Krishna. That's why when you look up in the sky in the daytime, the sky is blue, because the blue sky is the expansion of Krishna's body, and Krishna's body is blue. So the material world, the spiritual, the demons are killed by Krishna. They go to the Brahmayoti, which is the Brahmani effulgence. But it says, Abhura Kuchena Padam Padam, that those who go to the spirit Brahmayoti, because they have not tasted the lotus seed or understood the nectar of the lotus seed of Krishna, they have every chance of falling back into the material world. So the demons are killed, devotees killed by Krishna, the demons and devotees, the demons like Kamsa, Ranikashipu, Shishupal, they were always thinking of Krishna. So they were in Krishna consciousness, but they were not Krishna conscious in a favorable way. That was unfavorable. So at the time of death, they achieved the Brahmayoti. And then the Brahmayoti, there's no engagement there, and so there's every chance of falling back down from the Brahmayoti. Although it's a spiritual world, that living entities can come back from the Brahmayoti and open hospitals and schools, engage in philanthropic work. So the devotee doesn't, in Krishna Karnamrita, Bilmanga course says liberation. This is the one kind of liberation, to go to the Brahmayoti. But he says that liberation stands with folded hands in front of the devotee. So the devotee doesn't want liberation, or neither does he want the 5 kinds of liberation, which is given in the Vaikuntha planets. That is, to become one with the Lord, to have the same bodily features as the Lord, have the same opulence as the Lord, live on the same planet as the Lord. This way there's 5 kinds of liberation one can attain in the Vaikuntha planet. So the devotee doesn't even want that. The devotee wants, Lord Chaitanya said, Najanananan Sundarim Kabijal Vagadishware Mama Jamani Jamanishware Bhagavad Bhakti Haitikritai. I don't want wealth, I don't want women, I don't want any number of followers. All I want is your devotional service, birth after birth. So the devotee doesn't want anything in this material world. He wants to go back to Godhead and get out of the material world. Dhruva Maharaj was insulted by his stepmother, and when he went to sit on his lap of his father, the king, she told him, you can't sit on your father's lap because you weren't born in my womb. And his father was attached to his stepmother more than his real mother, Dhruva's mother. So he didn't stop this lady from forbidding Dhruva Maharaj from getting on the throne and sitting on his father's lap. So Dhruva Maharaj was determined to get revenge from his stepmother and to get revenge from his father, to have a kingdom greater than that of even his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. So he went to his mother crying, and his mother said, you have to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to fulfill your desire. So Dhruva Maharaj was only a 5-year-old boy, but so he went to the forest. And forest is not a nice place, a dangerous place for anyone, especially a 5-year-old boy. And while he was in the forest, he met Narada Muni. And Narada Muni told him, you're just a 5-year-old boy. Why are you taking your words of your stepmother so seriously? You know, you should just go back home. When you grow up, then you can practice spiritual life, or do yoga, or try to practice Krishna consciousness. But Dhruva Maharaj had that Kshatriya spirit. He was so determined, he couldn't take Narada Muni's words very seriously. So he he went to the forest. Narada Muni told him, all right, you stay in the forest, chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and practice the Hatha Yoga or the Astanga Yoga system of meditation. So Dhruva Maharaj did that, and for the first month he only ate fruit and berries for every 3 days. Second month he only ate dry leaves every 6 days. Third month he only drank water every 9 days. Fourth month he only breathed air every 12 days. The fifth month he closed all the gates, he stopped there all his activities. And the sixth month he was standing on one leg, not eating, not breathing, and he was pushing down the earth, and so much that the demigods were suffocating. So the demigods prayed to Lord Vishnu for help, and Lord Vishnu said, don't worry, I will stop Dhruva Maharaj's austerities and make everything normal again. So Dhruva Maharaj was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the heart. This is the yoga system, trying to realize Paramatma. So he got the darshan of the Lord in the heart, and then the Lord disappeared. Then he got the darshan of the Lord when he opened his eyes. And Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, and he wanted to offer prayers to the Lord. But he didn't know how to offer prayers, being only 5 years old. So the Lord took his conch shell and touched Dhruva Maharaj on his head. And in this way he empowered him to speak, to offer prayers. So Dhruva Maharaj then started offering prayers to the Lord, and he became ashamed. And the Lord said, you can have any benediction you want from me. I'm here now. But the Dhruva Maharaj said, I was looking for broken glass, but now I found a valuable jewel. So he was ashamed that he had petitioned the Lord to come to fulfill his material desires. He understood that was not correct. But still, the Lord was so kind to him that he gave him a spiritual planet called Svetadvip, where Mahavishnu resides, and he told him he could go and be the presiding deity over that planet. So Dhruva Maharaj was first stayed in the material world for 36,000 years as a king, and was completely detached from the material world. Then he went to the Svetadvip, Vaikuntha planet, which is never annihilated. So he realized his mistake, that he wanted to stay in the material world. He called the Lord to keep him in the material world, not to get out of the material world. We see that in so many cases. Demigods pray to Krishna for help, but they don't want to get out of the material world. They want to get free from their suffering or whatever their problems are. So we should not want to stay in this material world. So once you go to the Vaikuntha or Gola planets, you never come back again to this material world. So this is what we should all be aspiring for, to not have to remain here in this material world. So this can be done, Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach, by taking initiation, by associating with a pure devotee. Yasha Prasada Bhagavad Prasada, Yasha Prasada Narakintu Gopi. If one satisfies the spiritual master, then Krishna's pleased, and Krishna's pleased, the spiritual master's pleased. So the key to success in spiritual life is we have to take shelter of a pure devotee and render service. Tad vidi paripratena paripasena sevaya. Ubhidyanti jagyanas gyanastapa darshanaha. And this way, Srila Prabhupada came, Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, to teach Vairagya and knowledge that enables one to get free from the material world, detachment from anything about the spiritual life, full surrender. And that's what this chapter is all about, surrendering to Krishna. And the final word of the Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvadharma Parityajya Mamekam Saranamaja, Ham Tvam Sarvabhavanyo, Mukshashami Mahasuchaha. Krishna says, just surrender unto me. So we always have to be trying to surrender to the Guru and Krishna, and not surrender to our mind, demands of the mind. We should not surrender to our senses. Try to detach ourselves from the material world so we can go not only to Vaikuntha. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the Vaikuntha world is described to Gopakumar. It's one person. He goes all over the material and spiritual world. So he went to Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, they're worshiping Lord Aishvaryabhav, which are all in veneration. And they have pastimes, and they're very satisfied in that condition. But there's something higher than that, something that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas aspire for, and that is to go to Golok Vrindavan. Golok is the planet of Krishna, where he's having his rasa with his loving devotees. And especially the Rasa Lila was the highest form of rasa, or highest form of spiritual, the highest form of spiritual advancement. The gopis are considered the highest, most advanced of all of Krishna's devotees, because they only wanted to please Krishna in all respect. So the Krishna book, Prabhupada went to America in 1966. He wrote the Krishna book first because he didn't know how long he would be on the planet, and how if he'd be able to translate and purport the whole 10th canto, which he wasn't able to do. He only got up to the 13th chapter. So he wrote the Krishna book, and in the Krishna book, the rasa dance of Krishna is described there briefly by Sukadeva Goswami. But this is the highest form of devotional service. When Lord Chaitanya was in South India, it was the rainy season. He spent 4 months in the house of Vaikanta Bhatt. At Vaikanta Bhatt, and Lord Chaitanya discussed Krishna's pastimes. And one day, Lord Chaitanya said to Vaikanta Bhatt, "Your goddess of fortune is very chaste and loyal to Lord Vishnu, but why does she leave Lord Vishnu to practice austerities so she can enter into the rasa dance? Doesn't sound like she's very chaste and faithful." So Lord Chaitanya, Vaikanta Bhatt didn't understand that the worship of Lord Narayan and the Vaikuntha planet was not, the worship of Lakshmi Narayan was not superior. He didn't understand that the worship of Radha and Krishna was the topmost worship. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya proved to him that the worship of Radha and Krishna was the topmost of all kinds of worship. Even though Lakshmi performed austerity for a very long time, she still couldn't enter the rasa dance, because you can only enter the rasa dance if you have a gopi body, a spiritual body. And she didn't want to give up her Aishvaryabhav, her service to Lord Narayan, so therefore she couldn't enter the rasa dance. So we can understand from this verse and this chapter that there's the material world, and then there's the spiritual world. The material world is a dark place, only one sun, one moon in each universe, and it's a place of suffering and misery. But Krishna is a kind, loving Father. He doesn't want the living entity to come to the material world. It's because we misuse our free will. It was our desire. Krishna is a complete loving God, loving Father. He's Ambija Pradapita, and he wants all the fallen souls to come back to him. So he doesn't want, but he creates the material world. It's like when they build a city, they build a prison house. It's not that the government wants to have prisoners, but they know that there's going to be people who's going to break the law and have to go to jail. So Krishna created the material world because the living entities have that desire to be apart from him and try to enjoy apart from him. So the material world, those who are awakened to Krishna consciousness can understand that the material world, we should not want to stay in this material world. We should try to get out of the material world and go to Vaikuntha or go to Golok Vrindavan and not have to take birth again, where suffering, repeated birth and suffering goes on. Lord Kapil Dev described this in the third canto, how the movement of living entity, how much suffering there is even in the womb. The living entity in the womb, he doesn't have a body, but he has a subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego. So those who are fortunate living entities, they pray at the end of 7 months that they don't have to take birth again in the material world, that they don't have to suffer the misery. The misery is so great. The child has suffered so much misery in the womb of the mother. But so he prays, the fortunate soul, he prays to God, prays to Krishna, that I can perform devotional service and not have to do this again. But when he comes out of the womb, it's a traumatic experience, and he forgets that he prays in the womb. And then he's still bound up in the material world. But by reading Prabhupada's books, reading Bhagavad-Gita, we remember, revive our Krishna consciousness and be captivated by this description of the spiritual world and want to go back home, back to Godhead. This is the real goal of human life. We should not waste our human form of life just like the animals, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We should take seriously this human form of life, so at the time of death we can remember Krishna and go back to home, back to Godhead. I'll stop there. Any comments or questions? So we have some brave souls who came to Bhagavad Gita class tonight because it's super hot. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.